There are moments in life when a single hour can shape the rest of our lives. An hour of clarity, of decision, of reflection, or of transformation. This speech is called 60 minutes of life changing because that's all it takes. 60 minutes, one focused, honest hour. And in that hour, if you listen with your heart open and your mind engaged, you can plant the seeds of a new future. Let's be honest. We waste countless hours every day, scrolling, complaining, doubting, comparing. But what if we invested just 1 hour into our personal growth, into healing, into learning, into deciding we are capable of more? Imagine what that hour could do. One conversation, one bold decision, one act of courage. That's all it takes to change the course of your story. Time is one of the few things in this world that cannot be bought, paused, or reversed. It moves forward relentlessly, indifferent to our emotions, our struggles, and our excuses. Yet within its unstoppable march lies one of the greatest gifts we've ever been given. The ability to change our lives one moment at a time. And that's where the power of just 60 minutes comes in. Many people underestimate what can happen in a single hour because they think change only arrives through years of work, mountains of success, or some overnight miracle. But the truth is, all transformation begins in one defining moment, one decision, one shift in mindset that cracks the shell of who you were and allows the new you to break through. 1 hour of complete honesty with yourself. 1 hour of silence with your thoughts. 1 hour of focus, where your mind isn't being pulled in 100 different directions. In a world full of endless distractions, notifications, and pressure to do everything at once, giving yourself 60 uninterrupted minutes can feel almost radical, but it's in that hour that something sacred happens. Your mind slows down, your heart begins to speak, and your soul, often buried beneath layers of fear and failure, finally starts to rise. In just 60 minutes, you can revisit the dreams you buried. You can question the beliefs that no longer serve you. You can visualize the life you truly want instead of the one you've settled for. That's not a small thing. It's the beginning of everything. Time, when used intentionally, becomes more than just numbers on a clock. It becomes a container for transformation. It becomes a space where your past no longer dictates your future, where clarity begins to emerge from the fog of doubt and fear. And it doesn't matter if your life feels like a mess or if you're starting from rock bottom. Change doesn't care where you start. It only cares that you start. And one focused hour can be the ignition switch. Think of all the time you've given to worrying, to overthinking, to people who never deserved your energy. Compare that to the idea of gifting yourself one powerful, undistracted hour. 1 hour that's yours alone. No opinions, no outside noise, just you, your truth, and your decision to rise. That hour is a mirror, a window, and a weapon. A mirror to show you where you are, a window to help you see what's possible, and a weapon to fight the resistance that's been holding you back. So no, 60 minutes is not just an hour. It's the seed of every victory you could ever have. It's the conversation that rewires your brain, the choice that alters your path, the prayer that brings peace, the silence that gives you strength. When you stop seeing time as something that slips away and start seeing it as something that builds you up, you begin to live differently. And all of it can begin in just 60 minutes. We are constantly running out of time, and yet we behave as if we have an unlimited supply. We live like there will always be another tomorrow, another chance, another opportunity to get it right, until there isn't. Every day, we're gifted with 24 golden hours, 1,440 precious minutes, and 86,400 seconds. But how many of those do we actually use to build the life we want? How many of those moments do we spend investing in our peace, our goals, our healing, our future. The painful truth is, very few, most of us don't lose time. We waste it. And we do it willingly, unknowingly. We waste time scrolling through other people's lives instead of living our own. We refresh feeds, watching carefully curated moments that make us feel behind, less, small. We fall into the trap of comparison, giving our time and energy to people we don't even know, while our own dreams wither from neglect. We spend hours overthinking conversations that already happened, playing arguments on repeat in our heads, worrying about outcomes that haven't even arrived. And while we're lost in this loop, real life keeps moving. Opportunities don't wait for us to be ready. Time doesn't care that we're anxious or insecure. It just keeps ticking. And by the time we look up, weeks, months, sometimes years have slipped through our fingers like sand we never tried to hold. We waste time holding on to grudges, refusing to forgive people who've already moved on with their lives, while we stay stuck in pain they probably don't even remember causing. We waste time pretending to be okay because vulnerability feels like weakness, when in fact it's the first step to healing. We waste time trying to please everyone, trying to fit into a version of ourselves that makes others comfortable, all while losing our real selves somewhere in the process. We waste time waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect feeling, the perfect sign from the universe to start something. But the perfect moment never comes. It's not supposed to. Life was never meant to be waited on. It was meant to be lived fully and fiercely, even when we're scared. The universe. We lie to ourselves, saying we'll do it tomorrow, we'll apologize tomorrow, we'll start writing tomorrow, we'll call our parents tomorrow, we'll chase our goals tomorrow. But one day, tomorrow doesn't come, and what's left is regret. Regret for the time we had but didn't use, the chances we ignored, the love we didn't give, the potential we never explored. And the saddest part is, we knew better. Deep down, we knew we were wasting something priceless. But we convinced ourselves we had time to waste. Imagine what life could look like if we took that wasted time and reinvested it. If the hours we spent doubting ourselves were used to build ourselves. If the minutes we spent on meaningless distractions were given to mastering a craft, healing from trauma, building a future. 1 hour of wasted time might not seem like much, but stack it day after day and you've traded months of progress for nothing. And if you're not careful, you'll wake up one day wondering where your life went, not because it was stolen from you, but because you gave it away in small pieces without even realizing it. You are not here to simply exist, to pass time and call it living. You were meant to create, to grow, to love, to lead, to change something in this world. And the only thing standing in the way of that most often is how you're spending your time. It's not your lack of ability or your past or your trauma. It's how you're choosing to use your moments. Because every time you say yes to a distraction, you say no to your growth. Every hour you give to procrastination is an hour taken from your purpose. And every moment you waste pretending to be who you're not is a moment stolen from who you were born to be. We spend most of our lives trying to change our circumstances without ever pausing to examine who we are within them. We try to fix the symptoms, but never search for the root. We chase money to feel secure, attention to feel worthy, love to feel complete, yet the emptiness remains. That's because true transformation doesn't start with a new job, a new relationship, or a new location. It starts with a new level of honesty. It starts with self-awareness. Until you truly see yourself, you'll keep running in circles, wondering why nothing ever lasts, why nothing ever feels enough. And the answer is simple, but uncomfortable. You can't grow from a version of yourself you're too afraid to face. Self-awareness is not a surface glance in the mirror. It's the kind of internal stare that makes you uncomfortable. It's sitting in silence and admitting that some of your pain is self-inflicted. That you've tolerated too much, not because people were too strong, but because your boundaries were too weak. It's realizing that your patterns are not coincidences. They're reflections of your unresolved wounds. You keep choosing the wrong people, not because you're cursed, but because you haven't yet healed the part of you that thinks chaos is love. You keep quitting things halfway, not because you're lazy, but because your inner voice still tells you you're not good enough. This is the depth that self-awareness demands. And it's not easy. It's painful to admit that the person holding you back isn't your parents, your partner, your boss, or the world. Sometimes it's you. Your fear, your excuses, your refusal to slow down long enough to understand yourself. And yet, this pain is sacred. Because the moment you stop blaming the world and start looking within, that's when everything begins to shift. That's when you start seeing your patterns clearly. Why you overthink, why you sabotage good things, why you seek validation, why you settle. When you become aware of your triggers, your traumas, your masks, then and only then do you reclaim your power. You can't fix what you won't face, and you can't evolve into the next version of yourself while dragging around a blueprint of who you were. Self-awareness is the bridge between who you are and who you want to be. Without it, your goals are guesses, your growth is accidental, and your relationships are confusing at best. But with it, life begins to make sense. You start understanding why certain things drain you, why certain people trigger you, why certain environments shrink you. You learn how to protect your energy, how to speak your truth, how to love without losing yourself. You begin to set intentions instead of expectations. You begin to respond instead of react. You begin to live on purpose instead of on autopilot. And here's the most powerful truth of all. When you become self-aware, you stop waiting for others to fix you. You stop waiting for closure, for permission, for someone to rescue you from your own chaos. You realize you are not your mistakes, but you are responsible for healing from them. You are not your past, but you are the product of what you've chosen to learn or ignore from it. Self-awareness isn't just the first step to change, it's the only place real change begins. Because you can't build a new life if you're too scared to meet the real you. But when you finally do, when you're brave enough to look inward, you don't just change your life, you begin to own it. There's a moment in everyone's life when they feel like they've lost all control, like life is happening to them, not for them. The disappointments stack up, the failures weigh down the chest, and the future begins to blur into hopelessness. And in that space, where pain meets silence, it's easy to start believing a dangerous lie, that you are powerless, that no matter what you do, nothing will ever really change, that your circumstances define you, that your past has permanently written your story. But that lie, no matter how convincing it feels, is not the truth. The truth is, even when everything feels broken, you are not powerless. You never were. Power isn't loud. It doesn't always come from a stage or spotlights. Sometimes power looks like getting out of bed when you don't want to live. Sometimes it's choosing to speak when your voice trembles. Sometimes it's walking away from what's destroying you, even when it's all you've known. Real power is quiet. It lives in your decisions. It lives in your awareness, in your refusal to give up. And more importantly, it lives in your ability to choose what happens next. You can't always control what life throws at you. You can't go back and change the family you were born into or undo the heartbreaks that tore you apart. But what you can do is choose what you build with the pieces. You can choose how you respond. You can choose how long you let pain have the microphone in your life. You can choose what meaning you give to your past. Will it be a chain that holds you or a lesson that frees you? That choice, that power belongs to you. There will always be things in this world you can't control, but you can control your effort. You can control your mindset. You can control how much you feed your fear, how much you nurture your growth, how much you protect your peace. Victimhood is a mindset that strips you of your power. And while some of us have truly been victims of pain, betrayal, or injustice, we don't have to live as victims, because the moment you decide to take ownership of your life, not blame, not shame, but ownership, everything begins to change. Ownership says, I didn't choose what happened, but I choose what happens next. Ownership says, I don't need to be perfect to take the next step. Ownership says, I can be scared and strong at the same time. You're not stuck because you're weak. You're stuck because you haven't yet realized how powerful you actually are. You've survived things you thought would break you. You've lived through nights you didn't think you'd make it through. You've kept going when everything in you wanted to give up. That is not weakness, that is evidence of something unshakable inside of you. You don't need more motivation. You need to remember who you are. You need to silence the voices that told you too broken, too late, too small to make a difference, because none of that is true. The truth is there is still fire in you, and if you lean into that, if you reach into that place deep inside you where your strength has been waiting, you will realize something life-changing. You are not your past, you are not your pain, you are not what they did to you or what you failed to do. You are not your environment, your bank account, your trauma, or your fears. You are the author of the next chapter. You are the builder of your future. You are the one who decides what happens next. The moment you realize this is the moment you begin to rise. Not because someone came to save you, but because you remembered. You were never powerless to begin with. Change doesn't begin when circumstances shift. It doesn't begin when people around you finally understand you or when luck suddenly lands in your lap. Change begins in a much quieter, more sacred place, within a single decision. One decision. That's all it takes. One choice to no longer be available for the life you've outgrown. One moment of clarity where you say enough. Not out of anger, not out of desperation, but from a place of self-respect so deep that you finally realize you are worthy of more. More peace, more purpose, more truth, more life. And that decision, however small it may seem in the moment, becomes the turning point. Because the most important shifts in life don't happen outside you, they happen inside you. Long before anyone sees the transformation, you've already decided it's going to happen. You see, we are often waiting for some magical force to pull us out of the chaos, some sign to confirm our next step, some external push to get us moving. But the truth is, no one is coming to save you. There is no perfect time. There is no flawless plan. There is only now, and the decision you make in it. People spend years stuck in cycles, not because they're not capable of change, but because they haven't fully decided to. They're halfway in. They're saying they want a new life, but still holding on to old habits, old people, old stories. Real decisions demand sacrifice. They demand alignment. You can't say you want peace and still entertain drama. You can't say you want growth and still feed distractions. You can't say you want a future and stay married to your past. A real decision draws a line in the sand. It says, this is where it ends. This is where I rise. And let's be honest, deciding to change your life isn't easy. It's terrifying. Because deciding to change means walking away from what's familiar, even if it's been painful. It means being honest about your part in the chaos. It means giving up your favorite excuses. It means taking full ownership of your potential, and that's heavy. But the weight of growth is always lighter than the weight of regret. And in the end, staying stuck hurts far more than the fear of change ever will. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't need a perfect roadmap. You just need the courage to decide. I'm done settling. I'm done waiting. I'm done repeating this cycle. A decision is a commitment to your future self. It's a promise that you're no longer living according to who you used to be. And here's the most powerful part. Once you decide, the universe starts to shift around you. Not because of luck, but because your energy changes. Your habits begin to align, your boundaries get stronger, your voice gets clearer, your standards rise, and the people, places, and opportunities that match that new version of you begin to find you. It all starts with the decision to no longer abandon yourself. Not for comfort, not for approval, not for fear. Because when you finally choose you, your growth, your peace, your purpose, everything begins to transform. So if you're waiting for the right time to become the person you were always meant to be, this is it. This moment, this hour, this breath. The past is gone. The future isn't promised. But right now, you can decide. And when you do, life doesn't just change. You change. And that changes everything. There will come a day when the fire is gone, when the excitement fades, when the energy you once felt toward your dreams suddenly feels heavy. You'll wake up and the reasons that once pushed you forward will feel distant, blurry. That's when most people quit. That's when they say maybe it's not meant to be, or maybe I'm not good enough, because they were relying on motivation. The temporary rush of inspiration, the thrill of beginnings, the high of dreaming big. But the truth is, motivation is a liar. It shows up when things are easy. It cheers for you when the path is clear. But the moment life gets messy, the moment pain shows up, the moment you're tired or heartbroken or unsure, motivation disappears. And that's exactly where most people stop. But not you. Because you have something deeper than motivation. You have discipline. Discipline isn't flashy. It doesn't post highlight reels or make inspirational quotes. Discipline is quiet. It shows up when no one's watching. It shows up when you don't feel like it, when you're not inspired, when everything inside you screams to take the easy way out. Discipline is the choice to keep going when your emotions beg you to stop. It's waking up early when you want to sleep in. It's opening the book, showing up to the gym, doing the work. Not because you feel like it, but because you said you would. Discipline honors the promises you made to yourself long after the mood you made them in is gone. This is where growth happens. Not in the spark, but in the grind. In the dark, quiet hours when it's just you and the weight of your commitment. Discipline builds something motivation never could. Consistency. And consistency is the bridge between your dream and your reality. Talent is irrelevant without it. Passion burns out without it. Discipline is what turns potential into legacy. It is the daily decision to prioritize progress over comfort, to prioritize purpose over pleasure, to choose becoming over convenience. And here's the hard truth. There will be days when it all feels pointless, when your progress feels invisible, when no one notices your effort, when it seems like the world keeps spinning and you're stuck in the same place. But that's exactly when discipline matters most, because you're not doing it for applause. You're doing it for the person you are becoming. You're doing it for the future that depends on today's sacrifice. You're doing it for the life you know is possible, even if no one else can see it yet. Discipline doesn't ask you to be perfect. It asks you to be committed. It doesn't care about how many times you fall. It only demands that you get back up. It teaches you to work through your pain, not around it. To keep showing up even when the voice in your head whispers doubt. To keep building even when nothing seems to be changing. And eventually you look back and realize you didn't just survive. You transformed. Not because you were the most gifted or the most motivated, but because you were the most disciplined. So when motivation leaves, and it will, you don't stop. You don't shrink. You don't fold. You anchor yourself in discipline. You remember why you started. You remind yourself of what's at stake, and you keep moving. Because every time you choose discipline over excuses, you take another step toward the life you were born to live. That's how greatness is built. Not in grand gestures, but in quiet repetition. Not in motivation, but in discipline. Look around you. Not at the surface things, the walls, the ceiling, the weather outside. Look deeper. Look at the people you spend time with, the conversations you entertain, the habits you normalize, the energy you absorb every single day. Because whether you realize it or not, your environment is either feeding your growth or slowly suffocating it. It's either pulling you toward the life you were meant for or dragging you back into the patterns you're trying to escape. And here's the hard truth. No matter how strong your willpower is, if you stay in an environment that contradicts your vision, it's only a matter of time before your vision begins to fade. You cannot plant the seed of greatness in a garden of doubt and expect it to thrive. You can't speak dreams in rooms filled with people who only know how to talk about limits. You can't break generational cycles while still sitting at tables that romanticize mediocrity and call it tradition. Your environment is more than just physical space. It's emotional atmosphere. It's the tone, the rhythm, the vibration that surrounds you. It's the little voices that say you're capable or you're crazy. It's the feedback loop that either sharpens your edge or dulls your ambition. That's why protecting your environment isn't selfish. It's survival. You are not meant to bloom in soil that wasn't designed for your roots. Sometimes growth requires relocation, not always geographically, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. You have to let go of spaces that celebrate your stagnation. You have to walk away from circles that mistake your boundaries for disrespect, your silence for weakness, your vision for arrogance. And yes, it's painful, because sometimes the people who love you the most understand you the least. Sometimes the ones you've known the longest will be the first to question your change, not because they want to see you fail, but because your growth confronts their comfort. Your elevation exposes their stillness. But you can't let their fear become your anchor. You can't let their doubt become your dialogue. You are the average of the conversations you engaged in, the beliefs you absorb, the standards you accept. So ask yourself, do the people around you challenge you or comfort you into staying the same? Do they speak life into your purpose or water down your potential with fear disguised as realism? You cannot rise while staying emotionally connected to environments that are wired for your past. Sometimes protecting your future means disappointing your present. It means making space for solitude so your clarity can grow. It means becoming comfortable with being misunderstood. Because once you decide to upgrade your life, you will lose access to certain versions of people. And that's okay. Not everyone can walk with you to the next chapter. Some are only meant for a season, not because they were bad, but because their role in your story has ended. You owe it to yourself to build a life that reflects your values, not your fears. That requires surrounding yourself with people who see your soul, not just your history. People who hold you accountable, not hostage. People who light fires under your dreams, not pour water over them. You don't need a perfect environment, but you need one that supports your evolution. One that allows you to outgrow who you were without guilt. One that helps you stretch, not shrink. One that sees your future as clearly as you do, and even when you forget who you are, reminds you. Because when your environment aligns with your purpose, you don't just grow, you thrive. You become unstoppable, not because you never face resistance, but because the air around you finally gives you room to breathe. There comes a point in every life when silence begins to scream. When the pain we tried to bury years ago begins to show up in how we talk to ourselves, how we treat others, how we sabotage the good things that try to enter our lives. And for so long, we've been told that strength is about pushing through, about keeping it all together, about never crying, never breaking, never feeling too much. We live in a world that glorifies numbness and calls it maturity, that praises the ability to suffer quietly and labels healing as weakness. But nothing could be further from the truth. Healing is not weakness. Healing is power. It is the bravest, most powerful thing a human being can ever do, because healing requires honesty. And honesty demands courage to look at the parts of yourself you've been hiding for years. Not with judgment, but with compassion. That takes strength. To sit with your pain instead of running from it. To ask yourself hard questions. To admit that you've been hurt, that you're carrying wounds, that you have built walls to protect yourself that have now turned into cages. That's not weakness. That's war. And the battlefield is within. Healing is not a linear path. It's not something that happens overnight. It's messy, exhausting, and often invisible. But every time you choose to face what you once avoided, every time you choose to feel instead of numb, to forgive instead of harden, to release instead of control, you reclaim a piece of yourself. You begin to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. You begin to connect with that pure, untouchable part of you that never gave up. And from that place, real transformation begins. Healing doesn't erase the past, it reframes it. It allows you to rewrite the story not from the voice of the victim, but from the voice of the survivor, the warrior, the author. Healing gives you back your voice, your boundaries, your sense of self. It teaches you that your worth was never tied to what happened to you or how others treated you or the mistakes you made while trying to cope. Your worth has always been intact. Healing simply reminds you of that truth. And yes, it hurts. Healing hurts because it breaks down the layers of lies we've told ourselves to survive. It strips away the coping mechanisms that once kept us safe but now keep us stuck. It shines light on the places we tried to keep hidden. But in that light, there's freedom. Freedom from generational trauma, freedom from emotional numbness, freedom from the chains of shame and silence. The kind of freedom that comes not from pretending you're okay, but from actually becoming okay. So let the tears come, let the anger surface, let the grief rise. Don't run from it. Don't apologize for it. Your emotions are not the enemy. They are messengers telling you what still needs to be held, understood, and loved. You don't heal by avoiding. You heal by allowing. And in allowing, you begin to access a strength that is so much deeper than control. A strength rooted in peace. A strength built on wholeness, not performance. You are not broken. You are becoming. And every scar you carry tells a story not of defeat, but of survival, of resilience, of hope. So don't let the world convince you that healing is soft or small. Healing is heroic. It is revolutionary. It is the kind of strength that doesn't shout, but rebuilds you quietly from the inside out. And when you emerge, you won't just be healed. You will be reborn,